All right, welcome everybody. Good morning. This is your final installment here of the hierarchy of needs for traders. And this is the last last piece of the puzzle here, so to speak. This is the top of the pyramid, and we're going to talk about flow state. This is when you are in the zone. What does it feel like? Why does it feel like? Why does it feel so good? And why it's so difficult to get there? There's a lot. There's a lot that Jesus and I both have to say on this particular topic because we've both been here before, and then we've both left, the flow state. And everybody is constantly trying to achieve that flow state, that sort of effortless success, where you've done all the work and it is now paying. It is now paying you dividends, and it doesn't take that much effort to continue seeing that kind of success. Now, we're also going to talk about what are the things that can pull you away from that flow state as well. So we're going to kick it off here with stories of both myself and Jesus when we are at our flow state and a time in our trading when we really were. I would venture to say that, Jesus, you're probably in your best state, I guess, in trading wise. So you're kind of in your flow state right now, correct? I mean, you know what you're doing out there. You're not swayed by so many other things. And obviously things might get away from you. We'll talk about that Alibaba today. And why you need to be on your flow state in order to capture trades like this as well. But Jesus, go ahead and give us an example here when you were at your flow state, what it took for you to get there.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say just because you get to that flow state, you still have to work on remaining there. This is an evil game, and there's so many things that try to rip and yank you in other directions. And then before you know it, you're like, "What the hell just happened?" And all of a sudden, you're back down to the bottom of this pyramid, and you're going through the whole process again to get to this level. But I can relate. Like you mentioned, now I think I'm at the best state of my career because the definition of my flow state would be I really don't have much of an interest in anything else.
Right.
I found something that I believe in, that I'm confident in, that works. The consistency's there, and all my attention is there. A lot of times, and this happens with some of the newer traders in this game, that you find something, but the grass is greener on the other side. You always see other people making more money than you. You know what I mean? You're not making enough, and you stretch yourself out, and you get out of that zone, and that's where this market will just slap you in the back of the head and make you start over again. So, but I can give you this story, Lucci, and I'm sure you got a ton of them too. Back in the day, I went through a similar process where, I'm explaining to you how I thought I got to that flow state, but then this market just knocked me right back down to the bottom, and I had to rebuild and get myself to where I am now.
Right.
And, I was managing client money. This is back in, I would say, right after the internet bubble, so 2000, believe it or not. That was like my prime time. I was learning a lot of things the first couple of years, and then right after that internet bubble blew up, that's where I really starting to pick up the pieces and became something as far as a trader or a broker and so forth. So to make a long story short, what I did was I was the big small cap guy. When the internet bubble blew up, everybody was so focused on the internet stocks and the Cisco's and the AOL's and all those names, and where I really didn't participate. And because I didn't have much and I didn't blow up per se, I had an open mind, and I was playing a huge small cap run, okay, small and micro caps that a lot of traders were just ignoring because they were, licking their wounds, basically. So again, not to drag this story on, but for a couple of years, I really took off. I'm talking about took off. This was Jesus in his prime. This is where I got the nickname Wall Street Jesus. This is where everything really started getting hot on my end. I made a lot of money, but what happened was I didn't take into account that, I guess you could say, it wasn't more of strategy that I sought out. It was just, again, I was writing small caps when they were hot for a couple of years and didn't take into account what happens when the small caps aren't hot anymore. You know, sort of like we were talking about throughout the several webinars we've done already, where, you know, the breakout term, right? You buy the breakouts. That's, a lot of people made a lot of money over the years doing that, and then the last couple of years of this market, you're buying the breakouts, you got your ass handed to you.
That's right? What happened to me. That's exactly what happened to me. I was in my flow state 2013, 2012 there. I was literally in my flow state. And my flow state, just to throw mine out there, is, it, again, similar to what we were describing, that sort of effortless approach. And you know what it is? It's the patience to wait for the trades to come to you. And, just go ahead and pull up. You have your brokerage platform there, right, Jesus?
What, the charts here like this?
Yeah. Go ahead and throw up a chart of BABA. Like, do that for like the year. Go ahead and throw up a chart of BABA for like the year. All right. And let me give you an example of what flow state for me is, right? You look at this chart of BABA for the year, and this is after, obviously, that, after the January swoon, and then, through all the Grexit and all that kind of stuff. Look at this range that BABA is in, right? 75 to 80 bucks. This is nonsense, right? Most of this is nonsense. Most of the time you try to make a trade in between these, especially if it's over, let's say, a lengthy period of time, let's say 3 days or 4 days. Most of the time here, you're going to get shot in the foot, or you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, basically, trying to take any sort of directional trade here for longer than 3 or 4 days, right? Now, waiting around and being patient to the point where, you're waiting around for months for this thing to come to you, instead of banging the table, trading it every single day, trying to figure it out, that's the flow state for me. When I don't care, like BABA can be the worst name to trade forever, and I don't care. I'm just looking around for other names or whatever it is. And until it kind of comes to you, which obviously happened recently after, after the run up through 80 bucks finally, and now all of a sudden we start to see bets, coming in the 90s and the hundreds, and then obviously you see Friday's action, right? Thursday reports earnings, blew it out the water. This thing it's been a no-name for such a long time. And all of a sudden, in 2 days, back to $100. These kinds of moves, they make your career. They make your year. They might even make several years for you. And to wait around and be patient for moves like this, that's my flow state. That is what my flow state looks like. When I don't care, when I'm off my flow state, during that 3-month period, I would probably be trading it like every other day, trying to figure out like what is going on. Okay, it's ready to go. And boom, trying to just make things happen, when in reality, there's nothing going on. There's nothing going on. So if I'm like banging the table trying to make something happen, that's when I'm totally off my game. When I'm letting those trades come to me, that's my flow state. So even if it takes 3 months for BABA to give you 1 day of solid action, and that's the trade that makes your year, then who cares what is happening for 3 months? Who cares that it's a horrible stock to trade? But most people trade the markets with the expectation of X, Y, and Z happening, and they make the bets in the option markets expecting these things will happen. And when they don't happen, you got an option that goes nowhere, an account that's a little bit less rich, and if you continue to sort of beat a dead horse here, you're either going to blow up your freaking account or drive yourself insane. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about here? So that's kind of my flow state here for me, Jesus.
And Lucci, what I was explaining ties into what you're talking about now, because here was the issue. Like I said, I don't know if it'll do it justice, but for those of you who are around or you may be familiar, the small caps went on a sick run after that internet bubble blew up. I mean, I can't even explain to you some of these small caps. You're talking about $2, $4 numbers that literally would go to 8, 10 weeks, okay, loading up on a $3 stock. Think about it, a $3 stock, and when you're managing money like I was at the time, you could buy 1 million shares, it's $3 million, it's peanuts. And then, think about that stock going to like 15. So that's what really, you want to talk about a flow state. I thought I was God at the time, and didn't take into account that at some point in time, the small caps aren't going to lead this market like they are. I mean, that's the market, right? Sometimes it's the high beta names. Sometimes it's the big blue chip names. Sometimes it's the mid caps, the small caps. So, but it was a good lesson in itself because what it made me do is, again, we can go back to the stages of the pyramid that we went through in these webinars, okay? I had to go back and now find something, okay? Take some elements of how I made money through that run, but find something that either A, would allow me to keep an open mind to everything that's going on in this market. And what I mean by that is, Lucci just showed you that Baba was chopping around and annoying the living daylights out of traders for months there, okay? And prior to that was in a downtrend. All right, so now if you just look at, I'll give you an example, and I see this a lot, okay? I see this a lot, and I know it's going to bite these traders in the ass, but, you can only say so much. There's traders out there who just focus on Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, that's it, okay? Now here's the problem. You can do that, but like Lucci mentioned, when they're not in play, and when there's not a trade there, if you start forcing action, you're dead.
Yep.
Okay? Like, again, the Baba was a perfect example. Right. There was no play there for a while. Now, Lucci's saying when he's in this flow state, he's able to wait for that opportunity to line up. Wait for it all to line up. Where the stock's breaking out, the flow's behind it, the market's behind it. Right, Lucci? Think about all the things that were behind this Baba that made it the play.
Exactly.
Right? You had the flow, the market, you had everything there.
Yep. And not only that, is your mind there too. And it's like, okay, now you have a situation where you know what you want to trade, all right? You know how to make money. You know where you start screwing up. You know yourself now, okay? So now not only do you need the right setups, but you still need to be in the right mind state, right? So when I talk about my flow state, it's when I don't have any expectation, guys. That is the key for my flow state, being in my flow state. And I'm sure it will be the same for a lot of you folks. When you have expectation and that need and that necessity for the market to give you something because you think it's going to solve a problem for you, aka your money problems, or aka some losers that you're trying to make back, or maybe you're trying to buy a house, or maybe you got a nasty divorce or something, and she's taking you or he's taking you for all you got, right? And whatever the situation is, if you are looking at the market to solve a problem, a financial problem for you, you will never achieve that flow state. You will never achieve that flow state. Listen to the words here. You will never achieve that flow state. Why? Because of the expectation, right? The expectation that the market is going to pay you something in return for the work that you are doing, okay? So just because you spent the time on your technical foundation, you spent the time on level 2, your psychological foundation, you spent the time talking to other traders, honing your habits, honing your skills. Just because you spent the time to do all that, you now expect, the market to pay you or your stock to go to X, Y, and Z to give you some kind of a payday, to get you out of the situation that you're in, whatever it is. All right? The second that happens to you or me, I am totally rocked off my flow state. 2012, 2013, I remember waiting about 6 months for a price line to move. I literally waited 6 months for this thing to move. And when it was there, I made my year, I made my 2 years, and that was it. Because again, I didn't expect the market to give me anything. I was just waiting. I was just happy, just kind of waiting. And this price line just ripped hundreds and hundreds of points for the last several years. And you notice now again, take a look at the price line here for the last year. It's been doing nothing. It's been doing absolutely nothing. You got a wild range up here. This thing is going to go on a monumental 200 or 300 point move. Up or to the downside, I don't know. I don't know. But when it moves, I have to be there. This is the game that I play. And anytime I'm sitting there banging the table trying to get a move out of price line, and I'm losing sight of that bigger picture, that is where I lose my flow state. And just to give you an example of how easy it is to get rocked off your flow state, I mean, guys, life is so complicated in the sense that there's so many things happening in your life that could affect your flow state in trading. And that is why it is so difficult to stay in this flow state and just continue seeing that sort of effortless success. Because again, your life changes. Life situations change. And the idea as a trader is that you want to try to make your life as smooth here, as consistent sort of as possible, right? And you want to plan for those things that, let's just say, you can't forecast. So downswings, in your trading P&L, you want to make sure you save for that. You want to put yourself in that best sort of situation so that you can stay in that flow state, all right? Jesus.
Did I lose you?
Yep.
Oh, well, yeah, no. And I agree. And the thing, too, Lucci, that's why, again, we go back in the pyramid to something you're talking about right now that would translate into that. That's why I think it's so important to try to find a style, okay, and the daily habits, that you do every day as far as your trading is concerned, that lines up with your personality and what is going on in your life. It doesn't have to tie into every intricate detail in your life, but you got to understand, like Lucci's pointing out, for me, okay, again, I can use myself as an example because there's so many different personalities out there, right? So me, myself, I knew that I had to find something that will keep me active every day in this market. In other words, I can't stay and sit and do nothing and wait for that trade to line up. That's not my personality. I wish I can sit on the sidelines and wait for that sharp action to line up with the market, with everything, like we just pointed out. I mean, again, Baba, I wish I can wait for just those scenarios, but I can't. Call me a degenerate or not, at least I'm honest with myself, and I know I cannot sit around and do nothing. So I had to orchestrate a strategy that will keep me active and, again, make some money and find some consistency while doing it. Of course, there'll be opportunities out there where, I wish I were a part of and I could have made a lot of money, but the point is, what about all those other spots, those dead spots? What would I be doing then? Like Lucci mentioned, I'd probably be giving a lot of it back. And what's another thing, Lucci? And the Baba, again, is such a great example. How many traders tried, playing this whole range breakout, right? How many traders were cursing this stock out for months to the point where you heard it from everyone, Baba's on my do not trade list, right? Was that the common phrase? Nobody wanted to touch this thing and blamed it on Baba rather than themselves.
Exactly. And notice what Jesus said. Like he had to go through the pyramid to find to find himself. Right? Trading is the most sort of personal experience where you find things out about yourself that you never knew because you never tested yourself like you will as a trader. Okay, you never test your emotions like you will as a trader. So subsequently, when you get to the top of the pyramid here and you know the game and everything, you understand yourself and how you tick pretty freaking well. But are you going to listen to it, right? Are you going to actually build something that accounts for your emotional state, all right? That accounts for where you're at your best and where you're at your worst. Most people just continue banging their head against the wall because, again, they still expect the market to do X, Y, and Z for them instead of looking at it from a different direction, right? And looking at it as through your faults and through what you're good at. So again, Jesus can't do certain things, and it's not a coincidence that now I'm in the picture, and him and I can kind of get back on that table where we can put those kinds of trades back on the table for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
If all of a sudden we can now start doing some swings based on stuff that he sees and he's confident in. That SLW, go ahead and pull up that SLW. This has been a swing name, I think, for the past
All year.
months here. Dwayne Heaven is saying
All year since January.
Yep, Jesus cannot be tempted. Sticks to his game plan always. Amazing discipline. Right? So, Dwayne, when you ask Jesus, like, he has amazing discipline, he'll sit there and laugh at you, right? And he always does. He'll be like, dude, I am a degenerate, right? But what is he doing? He's accounting for his faults, right? He is accounting for who he is as a trader and what his tendencies are. So this is how he's going to stay in that flow state, right? Because he doesn't lend himself towards things that he knows in the past it has proven to be some bad decision making. You know what I mean? So most people don't do that.
Yeah, and Dwayne, these are the questions. It sounds silly, but again, this is going back to a couple webinars ago. Talking about each and every step in this pyramid. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah," they like to throw out there, "He's so disciplined," or "This trader's so disciplined." I mean, you have to get close to that state, otherwise you're going to have a tough time in this market. You have to find something or find the strength in you to be able to avoid certain situations in this market. Otherwise, you're going to just continuously spin your wheels, and that's why so many traders they can't make it. Okay, it's not a point about traders getting rich and finding that. It's about finding that consistency to stick around in this game, and a lot of traders find a tough time with that because they don't even bother looking and asking themselves those questions to give them a shot to get disciplined. Like, the first question I asked myself when, like I mentioned to you back when I was trading the small caps and I had to go all the way back down and start from scratch, was, okay, what could I do to keep myself entertained every single day in this market without getting hit over the head? Okay, if I want to swing trade, I know there's going to be point in times where I have to do nothing. And there's not going to be an exceptional swing trade opportunity every single day. That's not logical. Okay, so you have to ask these questions. If you trade just the high beta names, you have to ask, what am I going to do when these high beta names are out of favor, when they're just chopping around and there is no trade? The risk reward is not behind it. And what will I do when that can linger for the course of months? Like Lucci mentioned, if you're relying on paying your bills, you're going to end up forcing something and lose money rather than stick to your plan. So these are all things that, in my opinion, you have to nail down and go over and have an idea about before you even start pressing buttons and trying to realistically make money in this game. Because what you're going to do is you're going to make some money, you're going to lose some money, you're going to make some money, you're going to think you're at that flow state, and it's just because everything was lining up, and then when it turns out of favor, you're going to give it all back, and you're going to be scratching your head, what the hell am I doing? So these are all the things, and this is why we did this series of webinars, that you have to ask yourself the questions, and you really have to get to the bottom of who you are in this game.
Right. Who you are in this game, and then again, building that right strategy here that will allow you to achieve X, Y, and Z over and over again when that setup presents itself. When and only, does that setup present itself? Maybe you have multiple setups. Maybe you got 3 or 4 different setups or different strategies for different types of environments. Whatever the hell it is. Right? If you continually try to look at the market as a place that can solve some of the issues that you're having, this is going to keep you sort of out of the flow state. And let's kind of turn it back towards the sports world, right? I mean, you get some of these athletes that they're getting paid super amounts of money here. You could say in baseball, Jesus loves baseball. I mean, these guys are average on base percentage or average
Batting average?
Yeah, batting average is less than 300, correct? I mean, you're talking about hitters that can get up to the plate and get on base maybe 2-3 times out of 10, correct? So if that's worth it enough, right? If that's worth it enough for them to be able to see success, it's the same thing in trading. Same thing in trading. What you tend to see though is that on a career of, let's say, 15 years, you take Melo from the Knicks, right? How many solid years has he had? Again, solid player, consistent player, but how many years has he had like breakout freaking years, and he was sort of on top of the world, right? And then a lot of players too, they achieve that level, and then they can't get back there because all of a sudden they're living in a shadow of what they were able to accomplish maybe years ago, and that starts to mess with them mentally. And for some reason, because they're living through that expectation that, hey, this is where I should be, or this is where I should be as a trader, or this is where I should be as a ball player, whatever it is. And subsequently, that weighs on you. That weighs on your mind, and you cannot stay in that flow state. You can't even find that flow state, and you literally have to go back to identity formation because now you have a new freaking identity and you got new mental problems, you got new life problems that you got to figure out before you can get back into flow state. Jesus, any comments on the sports end?
Yeah, and that's sports, and that's why I love this game and sports. I mean, they're so similar, and exactly like if you have any intentions to remain a professional baseball player, as soon as you go outside of your game or do too much, that's when you're going to run into trouble. And the veterans that have successful careers and stick in the game long enough and finish out, end up Hall of Famers, are the professional players who understand what they need to do to find success. They know realistically they're not going to hit 600 throughout the year, right? I mean, you got Ted Williams is the only one to ever hit 400. So they know that if they're a 300 hitter, okay, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but if they stick to their plan and do what they know they do best, they're going to finish the year or around 300. Okay, that's what pays their salary. That's what makes them who they are, and that's what they're in the major leagues for. So that's the same approach you have to have as a trader and figure out on your own. What are you going to come up with a game plan to keep you where you need to be to find success in this game? And again, I use the example for swing traders because I know a lot of you guys are swing traders out there. And in my opinion, that's the most difficult because, one, you're not going to be, actively trading every day. And I don't think that's an issue. I think that's a good thing. You can still watch the market, but a lot of the feedback I get from some of these new traders are they can't watch the market without actually trading.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yep. So they're saying they rather go and take a walk in the park or walk their dog than be in front of a screen because they don't have the discipline to keep them away from trading. This is all stuff.
This is back to that expectation, because again, you come to the market every day and you expect, to make money every single day that you trade, or you expect to make a small bit, or whatever it is. Because of that expectation, again, that leads to what Jesus is saying, the difficulty of swing trading and those sort of bad decisions that come from emotions because you're sitting there doing absolutely nothing and the expectations start flying and then all of a sudden your hands magically move, your fingers magically move, and you're starting to hit your keys and limit orders and you name it.
And listen, guys, the flow state, okay, I mean, I don't want to stick with the wrong impression. The flow state we're referring to today is not some state where you're on planet euphoria. Every trade you make is a winner. Everything you do is right. That's not, in my opinion, what the flow state is. The flow state is when your focus is there, when you're not, being yanked in other directions because you know that what you have is what you want to stick with. That's your bread and butter, and that's where you're going to make your money. You know what I mean? Like Dwayne mentioned, I see a trade like Baba, okay? You think that doesn't bother me? You think that doesn't bother me that I saw all these buy orders come in? Thing that lined up, I seen people, make 300% on their calls without even holding into earnings, and I'm over here day trading. But I know that, and again, this is my flow state. I know it's not even worth me getting into that, because the thought of getting into that and what it may translate, it's like once you pee and you have to keep peeing, that type of thing. You know what I mean? So I know it's not worth leaving the place I'm at. That, in my definition, is the flow state. Okay, it's not some heavenly place where everything you touch turns to gold. Trust me, there's no such thing in this game. Right. You're always learning in this game. But it's when the strategy you have, you're focused on that and trying every day yourself.
Yeah, and your flow state is not all of a sudden when you start making money. Like, that's not your freaking flow state. Or if all of a sudden you got lucky and you bought some LinkedIn calls and Microsoft comes in and buys it for $195. That's not your freaking flow state. All right, that's luck. And again, those traders get checked as well. So anybody who's seen some lucky success, those guys will soon be checked as well. And they'll be given a dose of reality. All that experience trading, that's what converts there to that sort of flow state here. Guys, let's go ahead and start taking some questions. Jesus, you want to pull up that slide there that I sent you?
Yep. Okay, this here we're talking about. I got both of them. All right.
Yep. Jesus, why don't you go ahead and hit them up a little bit about?
Yeah. So this, if you guys want to check out, the Steam Room, okay, we have two different packages where we offer just the private Twitter alerts. But again, those are just the alerts. If you have a strategy and just want the action, that's strictly for that. The Steam Room, we talk about this a lot, guys. I do a morning webinar every single day during the week. Lucci and I do webinars after market, and we focus on not just the wise guy action, but incorporating it into a strategy. And again, the word strategy is the most important part, okay? Wise guy action, trust me, as powerful, and I'm biased towards it as I think it is, you're still not going to make money if you don't have a plan behind it, all right? And that's what we pretty much focus on in the actual Steam Room. Here's a link here. How can I do this, Lucci? I could put it out there so they have, because I ran into this issue the last time. This is only $49 for the first month, all right? So you could get in there, get a feel for what we're doing. And again, you don't like it, you move on, move elsewhere, but, we can do some good things there. And we also have this course here. If, a lot of people have found this helpful. It's basically we break down all the basics to everything we do. In other words, all the options, stuff, the basics, so you get an idea of how to read the flow, understand what the flow is telling you, and so forth. And then we start breaking it down in detail. Lucci and I do several videos throughout this course here, in where we elaborate on some action. It was actually in real time that we traded throughout the day, what we saw, what we were looking for, why we traded it, and then again, some rules. I have trading 10 commandments for both swing trading and day trading. And basically they're just guidelines that keep me in check. What trades I want to stay away from if I'm looking to swing trade, what trades I would be focusing on, what type of setups, and so forth. And then just the final thing here, which there's a lot of stuff in here. Lucci threw a lot of his tape reading stuff in here, psychological stuff in here, which is great. I mean, that always comes in handy in this game. But more importantly, Lucci and I do a private webinar for these course members, again, where we talk about and break down every single trade we put on that particular day or week, take questions from you guys, again, the reasons why we traded it. And again, a lot of the stuff in trading is what traders see and feel, and that's, that's important, guys. So if you want to learn about that and you're interested in all that, this is the course here. Lucci, is this link here that I have for the course, or just for the Steam Room, right?
Yeah. We'll go. Go ahead and grab that link right there. See that coupon for the month. So, guys, you're going to go ahead and get that for $49 for the first month here. We are getting a ton of trades here. We're getting a ton of questions here. And let's go ahead and start taking them. So, John Doe here and Chris Magnuson. Both have similar questions here and talking about full-time trading. John Doe is saying, so for a guy who's trying to quit his job and trading, you're saying that I need money to afford to lose to know who I am. So what kind of time are we talking about? Years and months? And again, John, it's kind of the wrong question to ask in terms of what time are we talking about, right? I mean, some traders can make money within a month. Other traders take 2 freaking years. Okay, and why do you think there's such a discrepancy? Because again, every person is different. If you have that mindset that you're already kind of focus driven, it doesn't take you a lot to generate effort or put in the time or whatever the hell it is, and you're mentally, you're mentally fit in the sense that you're mentally, you're very strong mentally. These folks have less of a learning curve than other folks do. Some people it takes 3 or 4 years. Why? Because their mind is all jacked up and because they're looking at the market as a situation where they want to quit their full-time job and, hey, I just want to start making money now. I see other people doing it, so why can't I do it, right? And you just jump into the shit and assuming you're going to make $500 a day or, make $5,000 a month or whatever, and it doesn't happen like that. It does not happen like that. That is not how it happens. You got to go through the pyramid, to get to that flow state. So I could answer you and give you, 6 months to a year or whatever, but that answer is bullshit. You and I both know that. I don't know you from a hole in the wall, John Doe. You know what I mean? You come in here with the name John Doe too, man. You don't know yourself here. You got to figure that out, man. You got to figure that first. Before we can even talk about it. As far as the losing money, for somebody who's trying to quit his job and trading or whatever, you definitely need a size account, and a strategy here that lends itself towards longevity, right? If you have a $25,000 account, let's say, and you're just flying out there on penny stock plays and options, that money is going to disappear real quick. So you have to keep that in mind. That 25 grand, you need a strategy that's going to keep you in the game at least for a freaking year while you're figuring shit out. Okay? Jesus, you want to comment here?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. I mean,
yeah.
I hope.
Answer Chris's question. So Chris is saying, I have a good strategy that makes money. Don't generally focus on how much I make since I have a job, but I would like to move to full-time trading. Would need more capital to do it near term. He says he's not hurrying, but what kinds of things can he do to make sure he's going in the right direction? So what would you recommend here for Chris?
Well, yeah, and Chris, again, you're going to know more than Lucci and I are able to answer this question because it's about the confidence, okay? You want to know that the consistency's there. You want to know, more importantly, like Lucci mentioned, that your plan and strategy is there and you're able to stick with it, and it will translate, again, into that confidence that if you do stick with it, you can make money over time. Like Lucci mentioned, if you quit a job and you're looking to replace that job with trading income, you're already behind the 8 ball, okay? Because like Lucci mentioned, depending on the strategy, the opportunity may not be there for you. And then what are you going to do, Chris? How are you going to pay your bills? Okay, I don't know if you're swing trading. If you're a swing trader, I'm going to guarantee that there's going to be a point in time over the next 6 to 12 months that whatever your strategy may be, there's going to be a window where you can't make any money. So what are you going to do about that time? These are all the questions that have to be asked and answered before you even click buttons. Are you able to go through some downtime, okay, to avoid losing money? Are you able to be patient and wait for that time to come around? Do you have enough? Here's what I would suggest. Make sure you have some money saved, okay, so you can get through that downtime. That's number one. All right? Before you even go any further, before quitting a job, I would focus on that. And then I would really take my sweet time, Chris. Keep your job, trade, make some money consistently on the side, okay, and make sure you're 100% confident. I'm not going to, no guarantees in this game, but make sure you're 100% confident in your approach, your discipline, and your strategy going forward before you give up that income. Because again, a lot of people, like the John Doe question, it doesn't even make sense to me. Like, you better have some sort of plan before you quit your job and start trading. I mean, I hear that a lot, though. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to quit my job and just start trading for a living, and they don't even know what they're going to trade yet. You know what I mean? I might trade futures. I was looking at Forex. Like, you were looking at Forex? Are we right now? So, and there's a lot of people out there like that, guys, and you don't want to be that person. Because like Lucci mentioned, honestly, I would say, Lucci, on an average of traders that I know who have made it, okay? And what I mean by made it, found consistency, where they're profitable traders. That's the label, okay? I would say on an average, 2 years. 2 years of not making any money before they become that profitable traders.
Right.
Literally, 2 years. So I'm not saying 2 years of blowing yourself, but 2 years of spinning your wheels before, getting everything nailed down where you need to be. Right. So, you got to take that into consideration, Chris. You may be a little more advanced than others. Maybe you've been working at it more. But these are the questions you have to ask yourself.
Indeed. Okay, do me a favor, Jesus, can you copy that link right there, the coupon link, and then drop it in the questions tab for everybody?
I thought I did it.
Yeah, guys, go ahead and use that. Make sure you send to all. So, guys, go ahead and use that link for the discount there. Again, you get $49 for the first month. Cheta has a great question here, and this is going to go back to some of the flow that we watch. This is a great question here. This may have been addressed, but in my experience, most of those breakout trades, Baba, Priceline, etc., most of the action happens either at earnings or overnight, meaning that you either need to pay an IV or guess when you think it will go up beforehand, and you're saying that comes down to 50-50. Basically, how do you know when the move you have been waiting for is real? And Cheta, that is a great question, because again, this is the world that I
live in. We were just talking about.
Yeah, this is the world that I live in, right? Most of the time when you make that breakout trade or breakdown trade or whatever the hell it is, you're right. It's 50-50. Now, once you get closer to it, it no longer becomes 50-50 though. It does not become 50-50. The odds go up here if you're looking at the right things and if you're patient here to just kind of let these things happen. So what happened on the Baba, and Jesus, go ahead and show the steam room here and show some of the steam there from from Friday.
Oh,
and again, this is just from Friday. But Cheta, what we have been seeing on Baba is different than we have seen in months here. And this is since she broke out to around $85, right? And then just sat around 85, and then everybody's waiting for earnings, okay? Now, you're right in the sense that there's always some kind of catalyst, right? There's an earnings, there's a friggin' market event news, or whatever the hell happens. Some crazy shit has to happen for these moves to actually, take place. Now, what we saw in the steam room, though, was so many people start to rack up calls here, 90 calls, 100 calls, and we saw it way back. I'm talking weeks ago. And when all of a sudden you have all of this big money here on the table now, betting on again, earnings as well, okay, you have a whole, consortium of large money that's buying the stock, aggressively out there buying calls. So they manufactured these things. And in reality, we just need to know when, and all of it is coming together, right? So we had a market, too, that is at all-time highs, right? All this juice is going into the tech names. Baba has been a dog for God knows how long and couldn't break $80. Finally, it does. We know earnings is coming around the corner here. And sometimes they make you take the flyer during earnings, right? Because, again, that's when the least amount of people are going to follow because of all the things that might happen to them, right? They gotta go ahead and wait for earnings, and then all of a sudden, maybe their options get smoked, whatever it is. The point is that the flow here showed us the picture, from $80 to $85, and now you're already looking at $100. So guess what's going to happen if you miss this move? Now you're going to come in on Monday and be like, oh, I got to get in, and you're going to pay way up for those options. These guys are already in it. They're going to sell right to you. And all of a sudden, all of those call holders, those late buyers here, are going to get smoked. You know the deal. And this all happens between 1, 2 days, maybe a week here that Baba gave you from whatever, 85 to friggin' 98 or wherever the hell it closed the other day. So check that. It's not 50-50 when it's actually about to go down. So it's really just being patient and until the odds here start to turn in your favor. So that's why I'm saying the steam room and watching some of that order flow is crucial here to timing it. I did the same thing on half of my swings here, if not all of my swings so far this year.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Checker, and I understand we were just talking about this right before the webinar. Well, we've been talking about this for days now, how it aggravated us where you had to, with all this flow, with the market behind, everything lined up in Baba perfectly. I'm talking about from the technicals to the flow, and then, again, the market behind it, which a lot of times is the most important thing, okay? So the difference, though, Checker, is this, where a lot of the steam room members, including Lucci, got in on Baba, where it was a lot earlier than earnings, okay? It was right here at this break where we started seeing some really heavy-duty action coming in, okay? 719, that's right here, okay? Right here, if you guys could see that. Now, that's why I highlighted this. On 19, we saw a $1.6 million sweep. So somebody swept multiple exchanges for $1.6 million on just that order of October 85 calls. Okay? That's right here. So now, again, Lucci had the trade. I day traded it because I only day trade, several times. Steam room members, a lot of people had it. Here's the thing now. You're in the trade and you already are in early. You have that cushion where you, like Lucci said, the odds aren't 50-50 anymore, because what you could have done is you could have took off a decent amount, you could have sold half and let the half run through earnings, and then you caught the whole move. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like the flow came in the day of earnings. This came in and lined up perfectly where you had that cushion, okay, which you want. That's what the wise guy flow can provide to you, is that cushion, that head start, like Lucci mentioned, before the mob comes in, okay, before retail comes in, before the IV goes through the roof like you mentioned, and you're getting robbed anyway. Here, nobody wanted to own these Baba calls, even as it looked strong. Everybody hated the stock. Okay, so that's where again, a game plan and a strategy off the wise guy action increases your odds and gives you a better risk reward. And like I said, I hate earnings, again, because earnings are a crapshoot. I agree with you 100%. But it gave you the opportunity to lock in a decent profit like Lucci did. He did exactly that, and then hold the piece through numbers to catch this move, okay? Because they were playing all the way out to October 100 calls. And, I mean, the stock, everybody was like, October 100? The stock is $82. What are they, nuts?
Yep.
Meanwhile, the stock's $100 now.
Yeah, there was a lotto buyer. Yeah, there was a lotto buyer for September 100s and paid almost like 30 cents, nothing.
25 cents. 25 cents.
25 cents. The guy paid a quarter. Those options went to 2 and change after the earnings came out. It was nuts. It was nuts, but that was the smartest buy that I have seen in probably the whole year, simply because he bought some time, captured the earnings.
Yeah, right here, Lucci, right here.
Right, and he
right
paid
here.
nothing. He paid nothing for it. He paid nothing but 12, however many, 10,000 contracts at a freaking quarter. A lotto play here, but with some time. So if he was right here, he would get the follow through and look at this guy. Go ahead and pull up that option right now. It is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So we see some real smart money at play here, through the steam room, and that helps us guide, some of the trades that we want to make. We got tons of questions here. Let's take a couple more, and then let's go ahead and kill it. Remember, guys, go ahead and use the coupon code if you want to get inside the steam room. We have some people asking for more beginner stuff. We do have some products for beginner. Go to sanglucci.com. You can check it out, or email us, contact@sanglucci.com. And we can go ahead and find the right course to you. We have an intro one too as well. So let's see. We got Chris here with a bunch of comments. Michael here. I think I answered most of those. We got John Doe here again. The point of my questions is that I'm saving money like to live 1 or 2 years without working. and have 2 5-grand accounts. And not to quit my job right now and trader, become a millionaire, blah, 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 all that. So with that time in my favor, educate myself and become profitable, that's a good plan. You know, that is a good plan. If you have money for 1 to 2 years, I would say your account sizes are small, so your strategy must account for the fact that, hey, I don't have a lot of cash and I can't afford to lose this cash, so don't go out there and pay and put 5 grand on a friggin' weekly Baba call and expect the shit to double. Like, make sure.
Which everybody does. Yeah. Everybody does. That's what happens. The new traders, they see the stock like Baba, they come in and they buy weeklies on some other company that's getting numbers, and they're going to lose it all, you know? It's not about that, guys. And that's, again, that's what we push in the steam room. Like, it's easy, okay? Baba in hindsight was a winner, okay? And it's easy to say, oh, look at the Baba, we're gurus, Baba. It's not about that. It's about finding why this Baba was such a sweet setup. All the things that lined up. And again, you know, everybody comes into the steam room, not everybody, a lot of new traders come into the steam room, and they think every single order on this board is an action to buy or sell, and that's not it. It's about putting everything together, and that's what Lucci, honestly, in a short amount of time, Lucci knew what to do and made money trading before I even met him, okay? But what he's done over the past, I would say, year in incorporating the wise guy action into his trading style has been, honestly, and I'm not just saying it because he's on here with me, I mean, has been incredible. Quick, he got a grasp. He knew what he was looking for. He knew how this stuff could be an asset to what he was doing already. And that's what, like I said, if you know how to trade, it's going to come quicker to you, you know, utilizing this wise guy action, because it's going to be an extra tool, a powerful tool to your trading arsenal. If you're a new trader, okay, if you're a little new to the game, I mean, there's no fault behind it. You could come in with an open mind and just try to learn of what the hell this tape is trying to show us, rather than just going on the board and taking every single alert and thinking, you know, buy the option, you're going to make money. It's not about that. It's about, you know, painting that picture and going back, looking at why Baba, you know, risk-reward-wise was such a great, and then the discipline to, like Lucci said, to wait for these type of opportunities when they're not around. Now, I'm sure, Lucci, you would agree, you know, market has really heated up here. You know, there's been opportunities left and right like the Baba. There's been a ton of them. But, you know, before that, that wasn't the case, right? We went through a couple months where swing traders really didn't have much opportunity out there.
Indeed, indeed. All right, guys, let's go ahead and kill it there. Remember, flow state here takes a while to achieve. You've got to go through each step on the pyramid here first before you can achieve that flow state. And the idea here is to stay in that flow state for as long as possible by starting to control some of the things that you know are, you know, some places where you start going on a string of sort of bad decisions. So if your life is extremely volatile right now and that doesn't lend itself towards consistency in trading, well, you know, these are the things that you got to start figuring out to keep yourself in that sort of flow state here. Whether you need to take breaks often, whether you get on a, you know, your emotions get too heavy, you get greedy when you're up, and then you lose it all the next day. You know, these are all things that you need to, you know, talk about, consider, in order to get to your sort of flow state. We can help you get there with the right information as far as your strategy is concerned. But again, you know, we can't trade for you, and we can't, you know, we don't know, you know, you as people, and we don't understand how you tick and how your sort of emotions drive you. And so this is a big part, obviously, in you achieving that sort of flow state. So go ahead, use the link. Hopefully we'll see you guys in the steam room. If anybody wants to access any of these previous recordings here, you can hit that Traders Hierarchy page. Jesus, you want to show them again. Or you can get all the videos on YouTube. There's a ton of other stuff on YouTube as well. So we will see you again, obviously. Thanks, everybody, for joining. And again, hopefully we'll see you in the steam room.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great weekend.